It's a phenomenon. Yeah, it began in the late 70s, then it really exploded in the middle 80s. It's the NFL Combine, and NFL fans cannot wait, nor can we, because we're headed there. But before we head there, we're here on this edition of Defending the Kingdom.
Mahomes in the pocket, he'll step up, he'll scramble 10, 5, Mahomes, diving touchdown, Kansas City.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. And yes, we are headed to Indianapolis. Normally, we're a little bit like coming off a Super Bowl and a little weary, but now we're like ready to go to check out Indianapolis. So there's some excitement as we head to the east.
It's a weird feeling because you're right. The last 3 years, we're coming off the Super Bowl, and we have like 20 minutes, it feels like, to figure out all the draft prospects that we're interested in and what the combine is going to look like. This year, a little bit different, and I'm ready for it because really ever since we got eliminated from postseason contention, we've been talking about how can we get a jump start on next season, get a jump start on avoiding what happened last year and making this team better. And we've been doing that, but now we can finally go to the combine, and it feels like this is kind of when the offseason truly begins, and we're fired up about it.
Yeah, we're not going to get the weeds of a lot of guys here. We're going to talk about the local guys, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
That will be at the combine. But I'm excited because this is my 33rd year in the NFL, and I've never been to the NFL combine.
Let's go.
I'm a rookie. Let's go. Is there rookie initiation? I mean, do I have to, do you take me to the goalposts? Or anyway, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a cool experience. I think you'll like it a lot. Yeah. Like, Indianapolis is designed to host conventions. It's like the perfect city for it. And to have that many people in one big room where you have all these reporters, all these scouts, GMs, all these NFL hopefuls, it's pretty cool to see it all right there. And we're going to talk to a lot of people. We're going to have a desk like in the Radio Row area. We'll be all official. We'll interview a bunch of people, hopefully interview some Chiefs front office people, and get going with this offseason. It'll be fun.
319 players have been invited to the 2026 NFL Combine, and we know that there's the speed and agility drills that are talked about ad nauseum. But this really also is, like, the interviews are interesting. Each team gets 60 interviews.
Yeah.
You get 15 minutes apiece, basically. But I've talked to coaches and players down through the years. Those interviews are more impactful sometimes than people think.
Yeah.
And so there's some dumb questions by some teams in the interview, but it's also, you've got to figure out not just the physical abilities, but some mental acumen. And you go through this in your vetting of a player and the pro days and when you get on campus and you actually talk to everybody you can find around that player. But to get them in a room and to find them spontaneously trying to react to questions, to me, I think is intriguing because you do get some element of what it does take to play in the National Football League.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things that happens at the Combine. The athletic testing is important, and we're going to talk all about that while we're there. And you reference that, when you pick guys like, hey, he runs this 40-yard dash or this 20-yard shuttle, all that stuff. Like, it's important. It matters. But I think the two most important things at the Combine are the medical, because you get everyone in one place and you have a baseline of medical data that you can agree on and say this is legitimate, figure out injury history, stuff like that. But then also the interviews. And is this player going to fit with our culture? Does this player kind of understand how we want to do things here? Will they fit in with our coaches? Stuff like that. It's very important. And I feel like with the coverage of the Combine, those two things are kind of overlooked a little bit. It's about, hey, who is the fastest or the strongest or the most agile? That's important. But I think if you ask any of our coaches or front office people, the interviews and the medical are the most important parts of the Combine.
And we got players in this group that did not play in the 2025 season at all. So the tape you have to go back to is 24. But then the medicals, and we've got, there's one guy in here who's had 2 ACL operations, a tight end who's had 2 ACLs on the same knee. So that becomes paramount when you're looking at a medical evaluation.
No, it definitely does. It's important. And before the Combine existed, there wasn't like a centralized, agreed upon database. It was, you had to go out to all these schools, you had to ask the coaches there, and that stuff still happens. But think about how difficult that would be if you have a player coming off a torn ACL. You have no idea what the rehab's been like. You don't know where they are in their rehab or who's been working on them, all that stuff. Like, the beauty of the combine is everyone can agree on this. And that's kind of your baseline for when you attack the draft and the whole offseason training program. If you take a player that's coming off an injury, well, we know exactly what he's been going through so far to this point. It's super important, and it's not exciting to talk about, but when you're talking about creating a football team and building this thing back up, you got to start somewhere, and that's certainly the place to do it.
The other phenomenon to me about the NFL Combine that's fascinating, and this has been the last 3 years, and we're kind of coming out of a weaning period of this, is the whole COVID sensation. Meaning, at the Combine, you're going to have, this wasn't the way it always was, but you'll have a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old, and you're going to have a 27-year-old.
Yeah.
There's like 7-year dudes that are finally coming out. They're going to be at the Combine.
Is Carson Beck at the Combine?
I think he is.
He had like 7 years in school.
7 years at school. Here's Carson Beck at 49 years old, and there's a 20-year-old dude in this thing. So to me, it is really interesting. Like, to look at them kind of side by side, or to kind of differentiate where they at in a physical development and then mental and emotional development. We know that it can be varied, very much like age. So we kind of feel like we're coming out of the COVID, hey, he's been at school 7 or 8 years, but it's still going to be there for a while. But to me, this year, it is full on in that realm.
The transfer stuff is still so weird to me, too, where if you look at like a guy's career, and he played at like Florida Atlantic and then 2 years at Virginia Tech, a year at Miami, finished up at Western Kentucky, what do you call him? You know? What's his mascot? Who is he?
You don't. And it's always the last year.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem fair, especially if that was like a grad transfer year. There's one guy we're going to talk about on here who fits that role. There's a local guy that played 1 year, but then he's tied into that school. Like, well, wait a minute.
Like on Sunday Night Football, he says tight end, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, were you really?
Well, wait, were you really? No, you were at Florida Atlantic for 3 years. Why did you say Oregon? So, but yeah, that's interesting. The area players, I think, deserve mention here.
Yeah.
And you actually wrote an article about it, which was terrific. It's always something I'm interested in to look at, but there's some that deserve mention. And then there's also something, and I'll let you go through the list, but then there's some real interesting stories that go beyond the stories of the local players who will be at the Combine.
This is always like an annual rite for me, like a tradition. I know the off season is here when I get the list of all the people going to the Combine, all 319 of them if you're talking about this season, and I Google every single one. And I learn a lot about the capabilities of different athletic departments and how much time and effort they put into writing about their players. Some a lot, some not so much.
Some not so much.
Yeah.
You have to find other sources.
So here's the local guys. These are local Kansas City prospects, so like Kansas City high schools. I didn't include the players that went to local universities. So there's 6 players from Mizzou, 2 from KU, 2 from K-State. If they were from this area, I didn't include them in this because you kind of already know about them. But here's the guys that went to local KC high schools. So Wyoming tight end John Michael Gillenborg. I pronounced that correctly?
I think so. I know his dad. I just saw his dad actually in December. They're huge Chiefs fans.
Yeah, figured so.
And his dad, they would go to Wyoming and drive to the games. They drove to Laramie to the games.
From Kansas City.
From Kansas City. And most of the road games, they drove to. Think about who Wyoming's playing on the road.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wow.
So, but they drove. It was like a 9-hour drive. Well, their last years of following John Michael in Laramie were spent listening to the games. They would time it, because if they had a 9-hour drive to Laramie, they could burn up with pregame, the game, and postgame. They could burn up 5 of those 9 hours.
Yeah, they sure
And they
could.
said, "Oh my gosh, it actually saved us."
Wow.
Listen to these games coming back from Wyoming. So it was fun to talk to his dad. Kid's a talented player.
Yeah.
Rockhurst kid. But I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah. You ever been on that road, like around Laramie, from like Fort Collins to Laramie, or
Yes,
like
I
Rock
have.
Springs?
Yes, I have.
You're lucky if you don't blow off the highway. Yeah.
Different. It's like, are we on the same planet here?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
Has its own beauty, though.
It does.
It's beautiful.
as long as you don't blow off the highway.
Yeah.
We have 2 Rockers kids, so he's one of them. The other being Texas A&M edge rusher Cassius Howell. Really impressive player. Like, he's a guy I'm kind of enamored with. We'll talk about him more on a later episode. But it's funny when you watch a guy and you're like, oh, this guy's really good. Like, I could see him fitting in here. And you look him up and it's like, he went to Rockhurst? He grew up 10 minutes from me? Who knew? But Cassius Howell is the other Rockhurst.
And he could be one that would be there at 40 maybe if you don't take an edge at 9.
Which, the exciting thing about 40, one thing that we've been talking about a lot is obviously picking number 9 is a big deal. Going to get a really good player there. But picking at 40, I think, is equally a big deal because how often does it happen where there's, over the course of like mock draft season, there's like 50 players who are supposed to be first rounders, right? Which is obviously impossible. Well, when day 2 rolls around, there's all these players who are still available at the beginning of round 2 where you're like, hey, this guy was like projected to go like 17th overall, 18th overall. He's available now at 33. But we never have a shot at those guys because we're picking at the end of the second round. Those guys are always gone. Well, this year we have a chance at one of those guys. It's almost like getting 2 first rounders. So I'm with you. I'm excited about that. Iowa offensive lineman Bo Stevens went to Blue Springs High School. Iowa State defensive tackle Dominique Orange went to North Kansas City High School, in the running for maybe the best nickname in the draft, the Big Citrus, Dominique Orange.
He's also gigantic.
Yeah.
So he comes up with the Big Citrus moniker, honestly. But let's give a shout out here to the North Kansas City Hornets.
Yeah.
Think of the NFL guys these guys are that high school's pumping out. There's several around the league. And so shout out to our high school coaches in North Kansas City who pops up on this list about every year.
It's very impressive. For these next 3 guys, I got a little like liberal with the Kansas City area.
I love it when you do it.
Yeah, I knew you'd enjoy it. Yeah. But they're nearby. They're within like 45 minutes to an hour. So Oregon wide receiver Malik Benson went to Lansing High School. Mm-hmm. You familiar with Lansing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The Lions. It's actually almost twin cities with Leavenworth.
Okay.
You can't tell when you're leaving Leavenworth and entering Lansing. This kid, I remember when he played high school there, was an absolute phenom.
I bet.
This kid runs 4.35.
God.
But here's one of the stories, and I've got a couple more. But in one of the more interesting phenomenon of area athletes in the Chiefs Kingdom, if they're kind of under-recruited, because we can talk about this even more, but the junior college football in the Chiefs Kingdom is some of the best, if not the best, in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a kid that's an example of he went to Hutchinson Community College, under-recruited, even though the dude was like, blazing 40 times and winning triple jump and high jump and was the phenom talk of the K7 corridor. But he goes to Hutch and blows up. Then he goes to Alabama for a while. But then he was at Florida State. This is one of those where he was at Oregon for 1 year, his graduate transfer
all the
year.
marquee programs.
Oh, yeah. Think about this. He was at Alabama, Florida State, Hutch JUCO,
Yep.
and Hutch, the Blue Dragons. And then he goes to Oregon. So now he's an Oregon guy. Well, wait a minute. Wasn't he at Alabama and Florida State?
Yeah.
So, but he's a real interesting guy, Benson.
And pretty cool.
Yep.
We got Tennessee tight end Miles Kitzelman.
That's right.
Went to Linden High School.
So they still played 11-man when Miles was there, but I think it was the last year of 11-man before they went 8-man.
Wow.
These guys, Linden High School, which is just south of Topeka, has had 3 Division I football players with Miles starting them. Now, here's another one. Guess where he went? Hutchinson Community College, because Miles was under-recruited, right? These guys don't go to the Nike Combine or whatever and show up with the top 100 players. They end up playing in the NFL because they go through the junior college ranks. And there's some more in here. But the fact that he went to Hutch, he blows up at Hutch. Guess where he goes? Alabama comes and finds him.
Yeah.
He's at Alabama, but then he ends at Tennessee, who's a really good player.
It's amazing how Hutch and some of the junior colleges like Gardner are just like these like factories for the major programs.
It's a real story. I mean, we'll jump in there sometime of all the great NFL players who came from Butler, Garden, and Dodge, and Highland Community College, which is the closest one to GHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. But this is another one of the stories. It's very much like the Benson kid where he started at JUCO, was under-recruited, now he's in the Combine.
It's crazy. Last one I have on the Missouri side, Arizona State linebacker Keyshawn Elliott went to Richmond High School.
Yeah, the Fighting Spartans. Here's another interesting story. So we've all followed what's happened at Vanderbilt. right? In fact, they got one of the top tight ends in this draft. But there are local guys that coach Vanderbilt that have turned that program around. Tim Beck is one, grew up in the Chiefs Kingdom. Another one is Jerry Kill.
Yeah.
And Jerry Kill is one of the more interesting football figures in our nation, and he just keeps popping up. But they recruited this guy because they would recruit Kansas City. They would go get the guy that was maybe the Power Fours would overlook, and they wouldn't go JUCO necessarily, but they'd grab this guy. And he started at New Mexico State.
Yeah.
Which is
New Mexico
your
State,
school,
baby.
man.
Let's go.
The Manhattan Project, which has never lost a game since you've played them on Madden.
Nope.
And, I'm sorry, on Madden, on college football.
Played a lot of that over the last few months.
But Beck and Kill and their staff found this kid at Richmond for the Fighting Spartans. He goes to New Mexico State. Then from there, he transfers on and becomes a dude. He's a factor in this combine.
Yeah, it's cool. With all these guys, it brings it a little bit closer to home. It shows there's players in this area that give absolutely everything, and now they have a chance to live out their dream. Yeah. And that's in a way what the combine is with the athletic testing, with the medical, and with the interviews. It is the world's greatest job interview where you've played football your whole life as a kid, as a young man, and now you have a chance to show professional evaluators, I can do this at the professional level. And some people knock it out of the park, some don't. But these guys, all from around this area, have a chance next week to do something pretty special, and maybe one of them or two or three, who knows, ends up in Kansas City. We'll see.
Can I throw another one in there? I
yeah.
think you had him on there. Was
and let me know if I forget anybody. I'm sure I did.
Sam Hecht, the K-State kid who played at Mill Valley.
Yeah, sure.
And Mill Valley is one of the powers in the entire Chiefs Kingdom. They are always challenging for a state championship in football. They, too, have pumped out so many Division I players and NFL players. In fact, the tight end for Denver, who was the baseball pitcher, played at Mill Valley. I think of Kroll.
Yeah,
Lucas Kroll.
Kroll.
Yeah, Lucas Kroll's a Mill Valley Jaguar, and he'll be on the field this year for the Denver Broncos. He was hurt last year. But Hecht had a great Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden, who's like an interior offensive lineman, and people see Cooper Beebe and what he has done for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's another local player at Piper, played at KC Piper. Now he's the starting Cowboy center. Hecht's another one. Interesting to watch the combine if he can follow up what he did at the Senior Bowl.
Sure. I think about guys last year like Ariante Ursary. Ended up in Houston, I think.
Ruskin High, right?
Left tackle for them, yeah, Ruskin High School. It's cool. These players come from our area, and they end up being good players in the league. Jalen Noel on the Texans, wide receiver, good player for them. Went to
Park Hill Trojan.
Yeah, Park Hill. So we'll see where these guys end up, but it's always fun kind of learning a little bit about the local players at the combine. Puts a kind of a local feel on it. I don't know.
Kudos for you, though. Kudos for you for giving it attention.
Yeah, my 2 hours of Googling, it pays off,
No, it pays off. Yeah. It's great, and I hope Chiefs fans appreciate it. We didn't get into Nebraska and Iowa and some locals. When people listen to games, they like that because I'll bring them up. Mm-hmm. They'll play for the other team, and I'll bring them up that they're from Seward, Nebraska, or Lenox, Iowa. But I just think it's part of the kingdom when guys are on this list and go to the combine and grew up here. Most of these guys, I would bet, are Chiefs fans.
Yeah, I think so too. It's always fun when they're doing their media sessions. If I have time, I'll do this. I'll ask one of them, like, what would it mean if the Chiefs called your name? And they always look a little bit different, right? Like reporters from all over the country ask them, hey, what if whatever team drafted you? They'll be like, oh, I'd love to go to work for them, whatever. But when you ask these Chiefs fans, what would it mean to go play for the Chiefs? They take a minute, and you can tell how much it would mean to them. It's pretty cool. With this in mind, we haven't gone around the world yet, and I have a couple for you.
Oh, my bad. How many you got?
I got 3.
3.
Really,
non-standard?
Really 2, and one's just like an update. So okay. 2 plus an update.
So we could put John Michael Gillenborg's parents on here.
Yeah, we
because
could.
They listen to the defending, whatever they got to do to eat up the 9-hour drive.
Shout out to the Gillenborgs.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. Shout out to Jim in Western North Carolina near Asheville. Mm-hmm. He grew up in Chiefs Kingdom, though, and when he lived in KCK, he turned the volume down on the TV, turned you up, as one does. Having some trouble doing that now, though, and he had a question. Can people listen to the radio broadcast like outside of our market?
They can. They have to go online to do it.
Okay.
No, they can do it.
Okay.
It's there, and you can sync it up. Real easy to do it. My 92-year-old dad does it.
Okay, there we go.
I said, you need to put out an online primer how to
PSA,
do it.
yeah.
He's got it.
Okay.
So Call my dad.
Jim, check out the Chiefs Radio Network website.
Asheville's gorgeous.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Home of UNC Asheville, right? It's the Western Carolina mountains. It's really one of the great places in our nation.
Got to check it out.
Yeah, had the terrible floods not long ago.
We got a listener in Brandon, Mississippi. You familiar with Brandon?
I am not.
Okay, we'll have to check that out as well.
Yep.
And here's the update. So we have an update on where Lincoln, Missouri is. Remember, we were perplexed by that. I was concerned that I just
Lincoln
miswrote
University,
it.
Lincoln Prep, but it has nothing to do with where is this?
So it's a small town off 65 Highway, south of the 52 and 65 junction, near Cole Camp in Windsor. Does that help you?
Yes. Why did we not know where Lincoln, Missouri is? Because Cole Camp, there's like this huge German festival there.
Okay.
And they have like the best German food on the planet other than Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a big Windsor, Cole Camp, I guess Lincoln.
Lincoln, yeah.
It's like a big German heritage place.
Okay.
So I'd have to have it's like the Wiener Schnitzel Festival or something. And then Windsor, I think, was the home of one of our old security guys, Herman Schur.
Of course, his name was Herman, right?
Herman, yeah, and his head's like gigantic. But he was actually Joe Montana's bodyguard when he was
Really?
Yeah, he was like the team bodyguard for Joe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Kicked me out of camp one day because I didn't have my pass. I'm like, well, I'm the voice of the Chiefs. I don't care if you're the King of England. You better run back to the dorm and get your pass, which was like a mile away. I ran like a mile.
Oh, my gosh.
It's like, oh, my God, I'm going to get fired. And so Herman Schur was a great guy. I'm pretty sure he's from Windsor.
It reminds me, there's some road games that we'll be at, and like Mitch and I, we have to have our credentials out. We have to scan in everywhere we go. Normally the players don't have to do that, but there are some stadiums that we've been to where the players and the coaches have to scan their credential to get in the locker room. And I remember one time, like Mahomes, his credential wasn't working, and the security guy was just standing right there, arms crossed, like he can't go in. It's like, this is Patrick Mahomes. I can vouch, But hey, taking their job seriously, I guess. Pretty recognizable guy, but
Maybe he thought it was the fake Patrick Mahomes that people are putting on, like AI Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, maybe.
So anyway, we're fired up to go to the Combine. One area that we know that all Kingdom defenders are watching is which room?
Wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. And curious what the Chiefs will do, potentially at 9. We'll get into the weeds of that pick at the Combine and later. There's an impressive group of wide receivers that will be at the Combine and could be potential picks at 9. But this episode is also going to focus on who is the new leader of that room. Interesting story. Sometimes you can circle around. I say life's a Monopoly board if you've ever played Monopoly, either virtually or like just with the physical board game. You go round and round and round. Sometimes you go around 20 times and come back to the same place. Here's our chat with wide receivers coach Chad O'Shea. Okay, I put this on social media. What do Wes Welker, Randy Moss, Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks, Danny Amendola, Jarvis Landry, Amari Cooper, and Jerry Jeudy all have in common? They were coached by this guy, the Chiefs' new wide receivers coach, Chad O'Shea. Sometimes you can go full circle, brother. It's been over 20 years. You're back.
Yeah, I am back, and I'm so excited to be back. I mean, it's really pretty awesome for me. It's like full circle, being here in 2003 where I started my NFL career, and then be back here again. I mean, it's an exciting time for me. I know my family's also excited about the opportunity, and we're just can't wait to get started.
Now, it's been over 20 years since you coached here, but what do you remember about Kansas City and the football culture here in town?
Yeah, I mean, this is unique. This is a culture that's unique. It's one that you'll never forget, and that was one of the things that attracted me to come back here, is just kind of the power of Kansas City, the power of the organization. And I think the power's in its people. The people here in the city and the organization are just outstanding, and it was an easy decision for me to come back here, or have the opportunity to come back here to work for Coach Reed, but to come back to an organization that I knew so well and have just a tremendous amount of respect for, and mainly because of its people.
I was going to ask him, being back in this building, but this building didn't exist when you were here last time. The whole building's new. We used to be in the stadium, right? That's where the facilities were.
So when I came here and people talked about this building being an aging building, I was in the stadium when our offices were in the stadium. So, dude, I have some great memories in the stadium there where our offices were, and just great memories of Coach Vermeil and a lot of the great players that at the time we were fortunate enough to coach and be around. And I know I've stayed in contact with Coach Vermeil. He's a mentor to myself, and just think so highly of him. And it's just ironic that I got an opportunity to work for Coach Vermeil, a Hall of Fame coach, and now I have an opportunity to work for Coach Reed, and those two are obviously connected. So it's really and just an awesome time for me to get back here, and I just, again, can't wait to get started with what is going to be a great year for us, and I look forward to it.
You look good in red. It just felt like it was wrong to have you on the other sideline, including 3 playoff games against you as an opponent. But it's great to have you back here. But I want to ask, I want to get into the weeds of the position here. And you've been around, I mentioned all those guys, but some of those guys led the NFL in receptions. You've been around high production receivers. How do you balance the high production and within the scheme? And you might get 10 targets one week and 2 the next. How do you handle that and coach that?
Yeah, and I've been very fortunate to be around some great players who had different skill sets. And what's common with all the great players is they're competitive and they want the football. And I think that's okay to want the football and to be a part of a winning offense. The balance comes into what can we do to put the team first in areas that might be outside of just catching the football and having your name on the stat line. And I think that's what's really important for myself. They're going to feel that when I'm in the room with them, that we are going to put the team first, and that's where it's going to start. And with that, we can also attain every goal that they want for themselves, and ultimately those goals that will help us as a team if they can get those. So I think there is a balance, and I think that's the key, that you have to just understand that there is a balance and also know where the players are coming from. They're highly decorated players who are very competitive and want the football and are deserving of the football, and that will help us win. But at the same time, we're going to do other things to really help this Kansas City football team win.
Now, when you think about your early days as a professional coach in Kansas City over 20 years ago, all the time that's the past and the teams that you've worked for in the time since, where do you think you've grown most as a coach over the last 2 decades?
Yeah, my growth has been with the opportunity I've had with these great players and great coaches to be around. And I've learned more from these players and coaches than I have from any video or any manual. And again, I've been so fortunate throughout all my stops to have people that I have just tremendous amount of respect for, not only in coaching, but those players. I've learned a lot from players. And, every stop along the way, I've picked up something small from each of those experiences with those people, and it's kind of led me to sit here and be able to bring the best I have to help the Kansas City Chiefs win.
You've won Super Bowl rings. You've been a coordinator. Football teams have different subcultures. An offense will be a subculture, but then a wide receiver room becomes a subculture. How do you develop a room that mirrors what coach wants for the team and for the offense?
Yeah, I think the first thing is we have to be aligned with what Coach Reed wants and his vision for the football team. And we do that in doing our job and being dependable and being detailed. I'll use those words over and over. Those are going to be words that you're going to hear me speak a lot here in Kansas City, of like, we need to be dependable and detailed for this team. And it all starts with being aligned with the vision that we have as a football team. I know the vision I have as the receivers, again, it's going to have the word team in it, and that's going to be put the team first in everything we do. And I think if we put the team first in everything we do, then that's going to be aligned with what Coach Reed's vision is for this football team.
You mentioned you worked for a lot of great head coaches over the years. Was there ever a piece of advice or maybe just a workflow that you observed that kind of inspired the coach that you are today?
Yeah, I think that it started right here in Kansas City with Coach Vermeil. I mean, Coach Vermeil really valued the relationship part of coaching. And I learned that from him, and that is something that is held very true. I think that one of the most important things you can do as a coach is to develop a relationship with your players, and everything starts there. Without that, you have nothing. And that's something that you can say, but it's a lot harder to do, and it takes some investment on both ends. And I think that's something I'm really looking forward to here, developing relationships with people I've never met before. And I just think that there's power in people, there's power in relationships, and that's what I look forward to doing here.
Chad, the last couple of years, I think in the league, maybe it's changed a little bit. We've seen guys like Puka Nacua that have risen, Jackson Smith and Jigba this year, or Cooper Kupp, where it seems like precision and persistence.
Yeah.
So the 40 time, yes. But what have you learned, and particularly the list of the guys that you've coached, where, and you mentioned this already, but precision with persistence and consistency?
Yeah, I think that, I value at the receiver position, as important as it is anything, is being detailed in everything we do. So when they say, hey, the route's at 10 yards, we need to be at 10 yards. And if we're where we need to be at the right time for the quarterback that we have playing, good things will happen. I think sometimes that can become more important than a 40 time or some of the things that are measurable physically, is just the intangibles of the receiver position, of the detail, the dependability, the persistence, being able to have a drop pass and then to get back in the huddle and be persistent enough to be able to be there for your team on the next play. And I think that what I've learned over my career and some of the guys I've coached, that's maybe more important than any 40 time or any height or weight that we have on these players.
This is a tough question to answer right now. We're just getting started. But fast forward 6 months, when people from around the league are looking at our wide receiver room, what do you want the identity of this wide receiver room to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that the identity, even though we can look at it 6 months from now, I think it starts like right now, and right when these players come in the building. And I think that the identity we want in our team, again, is in our receivers, is we're going to put the team first in everything we do. It starts with that. And if we can do that, then we can do everything on an individual goal basis that we need to. But it's going to start with putting the team first. You're going to have a group that's going to be able to play fast from the line of scrimmage and to be able to block and compete in the run game. And I keep it real simple in my teaching. I say, get open, catch the ball, and compete in the run game. If you do those three things, we stand a chance to win at the receiver position. So, and that's how I've always been with my teaching, whether it's an individual route or just our identity. When you ask me about that, let's just keep it simple. We're going to get open, catch the ball, and compete in the run game. We're try to do those things to help us win.
The tight window catch. This isn't a contested catch. This is you're open for a fraction of a second. And our division has excellent defensive backs. Chargers do, Broncos do, and the AFC, the Texans do. Where you may have a fraction of a second where you're open and another fraction of a second to catch it before they arrive.
Yeah.
How about teaching that and that becoming a weapon for this team?
Yeah, I think it's something like, as you say, talking about our division, you're going to get guys that are going to be able to cover. And it's so important that we are able to function in those high traffic areas. What I call them contested catches and traffic catches. Traffic type throws where there's going to be some type of distraction because the defender is going to be close to you, or our ability to make a play in a contested area. I do think you can improve in those areas. It's something that, we can improve on daily. I have a plan in place for our players when we get started in the spring, whether it's drill work, film work, teaching from my experience with these past players that I've been fortunate to be around. I mean, we're going to get started on that, and I do think it's an area you can improve, and we'll have to be good in those areas because you made a great point. In our division, there's very competitive coverage players.
You had a wide receiver room with Tom Brady as the quarterback. Now you got a wide receiver room with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. What about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Like to coach the receivers and to have accomplished quarterbacks and to be with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, like my wife says, hey, we're going to Kansas City, and she was so excited, and she knew one of the attractions obviously was Patrick Mahomes, and being the receiver coach for a quarterback like Pat, I just can't. I've had an opportunity to meet him. I'm so excited. I just can't wait to get started. And I was at an organization that went through some quarterback changes recently, and I know the importance of having a established leader at that position and how important that is to the guys that that I coach. So I can't wait with Patrick and again, working with Tom for all those years. I'm sure that I'm going to end up seeing a lot of similarities between those two.
And we can't wait to see what the wide receiver room is going to look like with Chad O'Shea as our wide receivers coach. So exciting to have Chad O'Shea lead that room, man. He has gone through a lot of life in 20 years since he was here the first time.
Yeah, very impressive guy. So cool. He was here in 2003, just a volunteer assistant. And now to be back here all these years later with a wealth of experience under his belt to help get this offense back on track. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, he was Frank Gans Jr.'s special teams helper. He might have coached the special teams more than we know. That'll be later decided. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, Crash Jr. Okay. What do we have lined up for programming? Because as we close here, we want to take you to Indianapolis with us, and so we've got a lot of things planned.
Yeah, we do. So we'll be there for a handful of days. We're going to do a podcast from there. We'll talk about some position groups that we're interested in, some players specifically that we're interested in. We'll also do a live stream from there. Not exactly sure what day that's going to be, but like kind of middle of the week at some point. We'll let everybody know. We'll do a live stream. We're hopefully going to have Brett Veach on the show, either the podcast or the live stream, maybe both. Maybe some more front office people and a bunch of media people as well, because that's one of the cool parts of the Combine is like anyone who is anyone in terms of NFL media will be there. We're going to try to talk to them about players that they like for the Chiefs, offseason outlook for the Chiefs, just their opinion on the Chiefs in general. We'll talk to them about that. So it should be pretty cool. It'll be fun. And we'll eat a lot of steak and shrimp cocktail too.
Yep, going to St. Elmo's for either wet the palate and clear the nostrils. All right, we're headed to Indianapolis. You will be too if you join us. So just follow us and what we'll bring you from Indianapolis. He is Matt McMullen, Senior Chief Reporter. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Thanks for joining us on this pre-Combine edition of Defending the Kingdom.